just want to test the mic here. Sorry. Checking the sound. Can you turn the sound off on your phone? I got a nice sound check, though. Hi, Ishita. Hi. Gonna go ahead and get started. I think I see someone else coming in. Got a couple seats. You can take either one if you'd like. Good evening, everyone. I'm Zen Master Sebastian Rizzon, founder of the Mind Light Way School of Zen, and I host these Dharma talks on the third Thursday of every month, and we also have a guided meditation on the first Thursday of every month from 7 to 8 p.m. And you can also find these and our other curated content on the Mind Light Way School of Zen YouTube channel. It's really good to see all of you here tonight. It's easy to go through life feeling certain about things without really examining our beliefs. We assume we know where we are, what is true, and sometimes what all this means. And for the most part, we don't question it. But if you stop and you really look closely, a lot of that certainty starts to fall apart. Sometimes we hear something or repeat something so many times that we stop examining it. It just starts to feel true. And that's where Zen practice becomes really important. Because one of the most important things in Zen is learning to how to stay open amidst uncertainty, instead of rushing to conclusions or clinging to narratives. In Zen, we call that don't know mind. It's not the same as confusion or ignorance. It's the willingness to let go of unquestioned assumptions and see what's actually here. No matter what other people say, if you want to see the truth, you have to keep that kind of mind. So let me ask you a question. Where are you? Really, where are you? Anyone want to answer? Most people will say something about their location if I ask them that question. Or maybe I'm on Earth. Okay. I'm in Somerville. Okay. Where's Earth? It's in the solar system. Where's the solar system? It's in the Milky Way. What about the universe? Where's the universe? So at some point, maybe you can go, that's about as far as I can go with my knowledge, but maybe you can go a step further. But at some point, you run out of answers. It's hard to say where you are. Eventually, if you really look closely, you don't really know where you are. And that's actually good. It's not a problem. It's the truth. You don't know. That's your koan for tonight. Where are you? Don't try to come up with like a clever or philosophical answer. Just stay with the question and see where it takes you. Before we go any further with this, we're going to meditate together. So for the meditation, just sit comfortably with your legs crossed. Keep your spine and your back upright, but not rigid. Rest your hands in your lap in the mudra position, which is right hand, left hand touching your thumbs, centered in your lap. Let your shoulders relax. Let your body settle. You can modify these positions as needed if they're not comfortable for you. If you become uncomfortable during the meditation, feel free to stand up and stretch. Just try to be mindful of those meditating around you. Now for the next few minutes, I'd like you to breathe slowly and deeply. Not forcing the breath, just breathing a little bit slower and a little bit deeper with each breath. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest. You can place your hand over your heart and close your eyes if you'd like. As you listen to my voice, continue to breathe slowly and deeply. Feel the breath coming in through your nose and mouth, and imagine any thoughts, plans, or worries that might be swirling around in your head, gently settling down into your chest. Imagine those thoughts being absorbed by your heart as soon as they arrive. Now visualize that you're breathing with your heart. Thoughts may come. That's okay. You don't need to stop them. You don't need to follow them. Just let them pass like clouds moving through the sky. Now we're going to move into the main meditation for today by returning our attention to the koan. Where are you? Don't try to answer it. Don't analyze it. Don't search for the right words. Just hold the question in your awareness. A koan is not a question you answer with logic. It's not something you solve with thought. It's a way of disrupting the mind's habit of trying to label, explain, and divide everything. So for this meditation, we're just holding the question in our mind. Where are you? Hold that question in your mind. Let the question cut through your thoughts, your assumptions, and the habit of rushing to an answer. If the mind starts trying to answer the question or solve the question, let that go. Just return to the question. Where are you? Don't force anything. Just stay with the question and see where it takes you. Now we'll begin the meditation for about 20 minutes or so. So you can just take one more deep breath and open your eyes when you're ready. So what did you experience? Did you see where you are? Where are you? It's not a simple question. It's not so easy to answer. When you really look, it's difficult to say for sure, and even harder to explain. This is the essence of don't know mind. It doesn't mean confusion or blankness or giving up. It's the awareness that our knowledge has limits. And it's the willingness to stay present when those limits appear. That space is very important, but it's hard for people to stay there. Because as soon as they don't know, they want to replace that with something. An opinion, a belief, an explanation, a ritual, a system, or a story about themselves. Anything that gives them a sense of comfort or stability. The reason this matters is that false certainty and unquestioned assumptions are the biggest obstacles to overcome in Zen practice. When people feel uncertain, they become uncomfortable. They start reaching for anything that helps them feel comfortable again. They assume that what feels familiar, what feels accessible, or what appeals to most people must be what is actually what's helpful. This happens in spiritual practices too. I see this all the time. People say to me sometimes, you know, your classes are not too popular. Maybe you could change what you're doing and you could make more money. And then they'll say, you know what's popular? If you do this or that, people really like that. Maybe you should have more rituals. Maybe you should use more New Age language that people can relate to. And I say, I don't know. That might work, but that's not how I learned. And I wouldn't feel comfortable teaching something that I didn't do myself. Also, people don't need more things to hold on to. They need less. They need to let go of whatever they're clinging to, even if it's just in this moment. These are very different types of teachings. One type tries to give people something to hold on to. Zen asks them to let go. I've also heard people respond saying, no, people need these ceremonies. They need these rituals to focus their mind so they can let go. And I say, no, that's what they want. It's not necessarily what they need. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of these things. A lot of the time, people just want another form of support or another method or something else that gives them comfort. But often the problem is not that they lack another method. It's the problem is that they don't want to do what's already in front of them. They want something else because they think something else will make it easier somehow. But Zen is not about giving people more things to cling to. It's about helping people see clearly what they're clinging to. This is why I don't automatically agree with what people say they need. Because people think they need all kinds of things. And people also want all kinds of things that aren't good for them. A lot of people would rather go to a bar and get drunk than come and meditate. Does that mean I should bring alcohol into Zen classes just because people prefer it? What's the difference? Popularity or preference is not proof that something helps. What people want is not always what they need. And this is just not about spiritual practice. People cling to whatever gives them a sense of comfort or stability. And once people start to measure things by popularity or what makes them feel comfortable, it usually doesn't take long before they start measuring things by money too. Someone said to me, if you're a Zen master and you can just choose to do whatever you want, why don't you just choose to make more money? You need money. And I said, making money is easy. They said, well, then why don't you go get it? And why don't you do it? My answer might surprise you. I'm just like everybody else. I need money to eat and live in this world. I need to make money too. And I'm willing to work hard to earn it. But the truth is, here in America at least, there's so many opportunities to make money. But it always costs you time and energy. That makes understanding what you really need even more important. Learning to live without things is very difficult for most people. But it's what gives you freedom. And you can see this everywhere. I know people, no matter how much money they make, they spend it all and more. For them, making money is easy, but saving money is difficult. They suffer because they always need more. There are other people, they make so much money and they never spend it. They hold on to everything. My teacher used to call these people salty. They suffer because they cling too tightly to what they have and they're afraid to lose it. So what does that show you? It shows you that people don't need the same things. They all have different attachments, different imbalances, different fears, different habits, and different illusions. So no one single ritual is going to change all of that. They have to look inside and find the right balance for themselves. Then they can let go of that attachment and make a real change for balancing their life. If you can let go of these deep-seated attachments, then enlightenment's not too far away. But letting go is not easy. People's attachments are not always so obvious to them. And that's where a teacher can be really helpful. A Zen teacher uses skillful means to help people see themselves more clearly. But skillful means is often misunderstood. In some types of spiritual practices and teachings, people think skillful means is giving the people they're teaching, what makes them feel comfortable, so they'll engage more deeply with the teaching. But that's not skillful means. If someone comes with a strong opinion, whether it's good or bad, you have to teach them not to cling to it. Everyone naturally has opinions, but how tightly do you hold on to them? If someone comes with a fixation on something, you have to help them let go of that fixation. Skillful means doesn't entail reinforcing whatever people are clinging to. It means helping people let go of what they're clinging to. It means just helping them understand what they're clinging to, recognize it, and let it go. It's a very different approach. If someone says they need certain rituals or certain practices to fix themselves, skillful means isn't necessarily giving them those things. It might be showing them that they don't actually need those things. And that takes wisdom, and it also takes care and caution. Teachers can fall into traps. If you think you're helping people by giving them the things that make them feel better, you need to be cautious, because you might just be giving them more things to cling to. And that's a slippery slope. Also, if the student gives the teacher the feeling that they're fixing all of their problems, it can feed the teacher's ego. And if the teacher starts feeling that the student depends on them, it can create a feedback loop of codependency. And that's not good for anyone. Every teacher should be aware of this trap. Practice and different teachings are like medicine. If something helps for a short period of time, fine, that's okay. But if you continue relying on it, it can become an addiction. It can even become toxic. All good doctors need to acknowledge this when they prescribe medicine, that too much is not good, or for too long it's not good. They all have to be aware of that. All good Zen teachers need to acknowledge when this same thing when they prescribe a certain practice. If a student becomes attached, then part of teaching is helping them let go of that attachment. For a similar reason, living in a Zen temple could be helpful, but not for the reason most people think. For those of you who don't know my story, I lived in a Zen temple for 16 years before starting this school. People look at it from the outside and they think it's helpful because of the schedule, the routine, the forms of meditation practice, the chanting, and the rigid structure. But none of that is the heart of it. The most important thing about living in a Zen temple is the agreement between the teacher and the student. That's what makes it special. When you're living in a temple, you're voluntarily agreeing to put down your ego and follow the rules. That's the agreement. From the outside, people only see the formal rules and structure. But the real training is what that structure is requiring you to let go of. When I was living at the temple, if I asked what the reason for a ritual was, or what a chant meant, or sometimes I was told, don't worry about it, or just do it. And that may sound harsh to some people, but what I was learning to do was to put down my ego and just do it. To stop clinging to my desire to need to know a reason. If I needed to know why, I learned that I should go meditate, and then I could figure it out for myself. The training was teaching me to put down my ego, to hold my opinions lightly, and understand the source of my desire, so I could see clearly for myself. That's very important. In truth, I know a lot about Zen, but there's still a lot I can't explain to you. I could teach you about Buddhist teachings in the sutras. I could teach you the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These are different Buddhist teachings. I could tell you what I think is right and what I think is wrong, but that's not going to help you. You need to find out for yourself. So the only thing I ever really try to do is empower people by helping them see what's already there. That's it. It's hard work, though. The way I teach really asks you to open your mind. Most people struggle to do it. It scares them. It makes them uncomfortable to realize how much of what they took for granted may not be true. This is extremely threatening to the ego. But when your mind becomes clear, it's not scary at all. It's liberating. You realize you already have everything you need. That doesn't mean you never use different forms of practice. It doesn't mean you never use rituals. It doesn't mean you never use various methods. It means you don't cling to them. In any moment, you can use what's useful and let go of what's not, just by staying present and engaged with what's happening. So then what should you do? Try to release yourself from the grip of your ego. Question all of your tightly held assumptions and opinions. Try to understand where your desires come from. And keep working on all the things in your life that you need to do. This is the essence of don't know mind. Just keep going and try to keep your mind focused 100% on what you're doing, no matter what's happening. Not just when you feel like it or when it's inspiring, every moment. Eventually, if you keep going like this, you'll begin to see everything clearly. And then you won't have to worry about all of these concerns so much. That is liberation. So now let's come back to the question. Where are you? If you really sit with that question, you may begin to see exactly where you are, or more accurately, where you aren't. And when you see this clearly, that's enlightenment. It's wherever you are, right here and right now. You can see it as soon as you let go. Just keep going. It's closer than you think. Thank you all for coming tonight. So at this point, I take questions from anybody in the audience. Anything I said that maybe wasn't clear to you about this, anything about Zen, anything about meditation, anything about the mind, life. Did I see your hand going up?
Yeah. How does one accept or learn to accept the truth that they don't know where they are, or and that they never really learned how to be lost? You know, perhaps they convinced themselves of a narrative for a very long time, but then realized, maybe recently, holy crap, I don't know where I am anymore.
Okay.
And I don't know how to be lost.
These are good questions. So what it is, it was about advice for someone, or what should one do if they realize they don't know where they are, and getting comfortable with the feeling of being lost. I think that was, am I summarizing that well enough? I want to make sure people who can't hear the question get it. It's a great question. I think it's the start of something. I think it's a sign that you've let go of an old narrative and you're not sure what to replace it with. And in essence, that is the don't know mind that I'm talking about. And I would not, and you mentioned not being comfortable with it. And it's learning to be comfortable with that. And learning, I'm going to answer this in a few different ways, but in some ways, doesn't it make life more exciting? If you think you know everything, it's actually kind of boring. So I would, in the meantime, while you're in this, maybe embrace that. But I'm going to also, I'm going to present a different question to you that maybe might help you. And that is, if you don't know where you are, how do you know you're lost?
Maybe it's I'm not where I thought I was.
That's very sharp. You don't know where you thought you were. I think that is more accurate. I would just be cautious about subtly replacing one narrative with another because you told me you're lost and you don't know where you are. And so I was questioning, can you really say you're lost if you don't know where you are? And then my next question is, do you actually know anything other than where you are? So maybe that's all you know. But I think these are questions I think it might be worth considering, and they might point you in a different direction and give you a different way of meeting what you're feeling. Because I would argue that enlightenment is knowing where you are and knowing that you're here and now. And that is what you know. All of the other things are just narratives that you believed in before. And now you're realizing those weren't true completely. They can be useful. I'm not saying not knowing how to read a map. Reading a map is useful, right? But also, they can sometimes, things that are useful and helpful can sometimes cloud out the truth, and the actual truth is that what you know is right here and now.
I think there's also the connection of, perhaps in convincing oneself of something, it's like you might not be changing, but the world definitely is, right? Like you might realize that, hey, this doesn't feel like, the world I convinced myself of, the narratives I convinced myself of. The world changed, but I didn't. I wasn't present in where I actually am.
Yeah. I mean, things are always changing. That's one of the things. That's another, truth they teach is everything is impermanent. Everything's always changing. And part of the teaching is letting go to the things you think are permanent, you think are the truth, because that is actually the source of your suffering. It's fighting the fact that everything is changing. The part of you which I would call ego, which is like your sense of self. It wants stability. It wants comfort. It needs that. But it also, and there's reasons for that, you know, from a survival standpoint, but also it gets, there becomes an imbalance when that's the only way you see things. There's a few things going on here. There's that part which most of us live in, and then there's the part that is that's just immediately experienced. Yeah, it's yeah, there's convenient truths that are helpful, and then there's bigger truths. And the convenient truths are the ones that when we cling to them and then they're no longer true, then we really suffer. But if we keep at the same time realizing, if you really are honest that that's just a convenient truth, then when it doesn't hold in a certain situation, it doesn't cause the same amount of suffering.
I just want to add something. So hi everyone, I'm Zen teacher Nadia Mansif, and I just want to say it is very acknowledged that it is very hard to be in that state of, I don't know, of being lost. It is very, very hard. And it's almost a survival instinct to just hold on to something, just one thing. I just want to be sure of something. I've been lost for many years. Always trying to find something to hold on to. And then I think where the I don't know mind come in is that honesty with yourself to realize I'm really holding on to this because not holding on to this is very scary. And realizing it is a choice. And I would add, studying with Zen Master Sebastian Rizzon, he's not allowing me to hold on onto anything. And he keeps me very honest with myself. And he doesn't care whether it's hard or not. I think he cares, but he knows that there's it's worth it. But I want to acknowledge that it's very hard to be in that space. And I think having also a community where it's just all hard for everybody at the same time, so we kind of you vent to each other. It's hard. Yes, it's hard. Keeps it going.
Yeah, I think it's true. It is hard, but it's also hard to live the other way because it keeps bringing suffering. And the truth is, if you that type of suffering where you're kind of fighting with the underlying truth, like the greater truth that things are always changing, it's like that clinging. It doesn't go away. If you are clinging to things that are convenient fictions, unquestioned assumptions, things that don't hold, it will always be a source of suffering. And so I would also say, I know it's in the short term uncomfortable, and this it's interesting because you don't know till you know, right? It's like, but when you do let go, then it's just more. That is what I was saying. It's liberating because you no longer have to fight with it. It's just, it is what it is, and you expect it, and it's not still bad things happen. Enlightenment doesn't save you from the people you care about dying or things like this. It just helps you understand that it's all part of a process, and it doesn't take away temporary pain, but it takes away some of the unnecessary suffering that accompanies it when you hold on to something and it's gone. And how long can you hold on to that? Or you can just let it go. And then a lot of times when you let it go, my experience, I bet yours too, but I don't want to speak for you, but when you let it go, you see it differently in a way where what you thought was bad before isn't bad anymore. It's just like unfolding something, you're just seeing it differently. And it's not that things don't affect you. I guess I'm just trying to say, like, you just see it as a natural process. And it's kind of I don't want to say too much because I don't want to make you think it's something something that just changes everything and it's amazing and everything's perfect, because that's not what it is. It's just everything being imperfect is okay. And one of the things that happens is you don't see things on such a short-term time frame. When you see things in a larger perspective, the smaller things don't matter as much. And the larger your perspective is, the less small things. They still bother you. Things still happen. Your heart can still hurt, but it's just like you see the bigger picture. And it's not, even the things that are giving you pain right now, those aren't forever either. Those are impermanent as well. So it kind of cuts both ways.
How do you let it go?
How do you let it go? Okay, that's a great question. Because it's easy to say let it go, right? When I was learning, part of my Zen practice was martial arts. And when I was doing the martial arts practice, I had one teacher. He would just keep giving me instructions, and then he'd just rattle them off, and then he'd be like, relax. And I would be like, how do I relax when you're doing that? But how do you let go? I mean, theoretically, you can just do it, but I'm going to give you a better answer too. The way you let go is by keeping your mind 100% centered in each moment on whatever you're doing, on whatever you're experiencing, not letting your mind wander to the future, to the past, just keeping your mind completely locked into this moment. Then nothing has any chance to come in between your mind and what you're doing. And it's not actually letting go at that point. It's like nothing can stick. It just comes, goes. So things that maybe used to bother you, they still come and maybe they still bother you, but they go right away. So that's a lot of what I teach I teach a lot through moving meditation, different forms of moving meditation, learning how to keep your mind focused in every moment on some sort of practice that you're doing, whether it's like martial arts or yoga or riding a bike. It could be anything like that, or making art. These are different ways you can practice that, keeping your mind in the moment. When you're doing that, you'll feel differently. You feel something akin to like a flow state. That means things are coming and you're letting them go immediately. Nothing's sticking. So you already know in a certain way how to do that. Zen practice is like practicing how to expand that into other aspects of your life. So meditation's a way you practice doing it sitting quietly with everything quiet. Or sometimes your neighbors are noisy, but You get the point. It's like you're trying to keep your mind focused no matter what's going on a mantra in the case of what we did today, or a koan. And then different forms of moving meditation teach you how to do that in an art form or something, or a physical activity. At the temple, we did it working at the temple, doing the gardening, sweeping the floors, cleaning the toilets, doing our dishes. Those are all opportunities for you to learn how to focus your mind completely on what you're doing. And what you're doing will tell you if you're focused. It'll show you. Are my dishes clear? Is my bed made? Is my room clean? Am I doing good at work? Am I doing a good job at my job? Or am I thinking about what I'm going to do afterwards all day? So some things are way easier than others. So I always say practice with something that kind of pushes you to that, and it's easy for you, and then try and expand that to different parts of your life. But I think the key is practicing a little bit every day, practicing a little bit of sitting, moving meditation, practicing a little bit of moving meditation. I usually say for people just getting started, don't try for too much. Try 5 minutes of sitting meditation, 20 minutes of moving meditation. But do it every single day, and then that trains your mind every day how to be like that. And then you'll start to notice you can use that. You're training your mind to stay engaged with what you're doing, and then you learn how to do it in other things. At the temple, we would do work around the temple, and my teacher would watch, and I thought it was just work, but then I'd make a mistake, and he'd be like, "Where's your mind?" And he'd always bring it to your attention when you're making a mistake. And so he was always like helping us and training us, bringing it to our attention that like this, whatever you're doing. But when he was there, he was very adamant and very strict about making sure you're keeping your mind in that moment. And I think, at first it was so hard. He was like harder than any boss I had, who was paying me, and I was doing the work for free here. But it's what trained me and helped me make my mind really good at that. And honestly, it's a skill. And even if you are just getting better at it, you don't have enlightenment, it makes you better at everything you do. So even if you don't believe in enlightenment or anything I said, or think it gives you a wider perspective, I guarantee you it'll make you better at your job, better at the things you want to do, learning how to focus. So there's like really practical reasons to learn how to use your mind to focus and to practice focusing your mind. And it can be, it can make you, for me, I got into meditation and martial arts at the same time. And my teacher was a martial arts teacher. And I wanted to be good at martial arts. I enjoyed doing it. And learning to use my mind this way at the same time made me really good at it. So you can use that in anything you want to apply yourself to in the same way. There's a question in the chat here I'm going to read. Sometimes present moment feels like heaven. And this is Daniel Beers. Sometimes present moment feels like heaven and everything is perfect. But sometimes it feels like hell itself. What do we do when it feels like hell? How to be less attached to feelings? It's a good question. I think I think that never goes away. You always will have moments where things feel good and feel great, and sometimes they feel like hell. The difference is how much time do you spend in each place. If you're completely not attached, you never spend any time in either of those places. You go there, but you're not, it's like instantaneous. So, how do you do that, though? I will go back to what I was saying. Like, even if you're going through challenging, difficult situations, really uncomfortable situations, keeping your mind focused through those will make you suffer, will make it so you suffer the least amount possible through these types of situations. If you get too entangled with whatever's happening, those things can spiral into worse and worse situations. But if you stay focused, even if it's like the worst situation you can imagine, that is your best chance for finding a way out and finding a different way to navigate the situation so that you don't keep making it worse and worse. And no one's going to be able to give you that kind of advice in real time. It's something you have to be able to do yourself. And so your ability to stay focused, to take in as much information as you can of everything that's going around you, and instinctively make the right decision and take the right actions. If your mind is clear, it's much, much better at doing that. And that reduces how much time you spend in what we're calling hell, according to this question. So, as I said, just to repeat that, keeping your mind focused in this moment, but it's also like, it's hard to you can't just do that because you want to all of a sudden. Maybe you can, but most people, it's difficult. So that's why you practice. You practice a little bit each day. You train yourself to get good at it. Then when the bad times hit, it's like, it's your reaction. Your reaction is your mind locks in. You do exactly what you need to do. I think I said some of this last month. My life has been far from perfect. I've had a lot of things happen to me. People I love died. I had a stroke 3 years ago. Those are kind of things that like can completely ruin your life if you dwell there for too long. And I completely lost my ability to move. I was in bed, and I didn't know what I was going to do right then, but I knew I wasn't going to stop trying to figure it out. And I also was comfortable with whatever happened. But I had a feeling there was more to do. And so I was like, well, I want to walk out of this place. And so I started trying to wiggle my toes. And like, it's all I had to do. So I just tried to wiggle my toes and then move my foot and try to feel things, like, because I lost all the feeling in one side of my body. The doctors came in and said, you're probably going to have to go someplace to live for a few months so you can learn how to walk again. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm walking out of this place. And I walked out 4 days later. And all of the nurses were like, what? He's leaving? So I can't explain that. I don't think any of the doctors can explain it. My feeling is it's just because my mind is good at controlling my body, and my body listens to my mind. And I've been training that for every day at that point for probably like 17 years. And so that creates a lot of power over yourself, a lot of power in your mind. And that's the only way I can explain it. But I can't prove it to you other than I did it. So it's a good story now, but even when I was there and everything was at its worst point, I was gonna figure it out even if I never moved again. Like I was just I wasn't happy about it, but like I was like, well, this is it, and what do I do? What do I do from here? This is the situation. I have to go from here, but where am I gonna go? And just keeping my mind clear, I just thought, oh, well, I'll just, keep trying to do the things I used to do, like moving my toes and whatever I can do, every little thing. And I couldn't get into physical therapy for like a few months after for different reasons. I just couldn't get an appointment. And they were like, you need to go to physical therapy right away. And I couldn't get in for a few months. But I just kept doing what I was doing. And I started to do the martial arts training again. Even though I couldn't lift my arm, I was like lifting my arm and like doing this with it. And when I finally got into physical therapy, they were like, wow, like you've made like a lot of recovery. They're like, what did you do? And I was like, I just, told them kept trying to train and do these things that my teacher taught me. And they were like, keep doing what you're doing. I was like, I said, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. It might be not safe, but it's just what I wanted to do. And they were like, she was just like, keep doing what you're doing. So I could have waited till the doctor told me what to do. That's probably what most people would advise you to do. And it might be smart, so don't take my advice. I'm not a doctor, but like, the point is for yourself. When your mind is clear, for yourself what to do, what's right for you. And that's, if I teach anything, that's what I want people to understand about themselves. And the only thing I do is just try and help people get to that point where they see it in themselves. Well, any more questions? We'll be here again in next month. So, and also if you come to the guided meditation on the first Thursday of the month, I also do questions there. So if you have more questions, you can always drop them there. If you want to get more involved with the community, we do have like memberships, and we do community groups where we meet together and have discussions about these things, have more interaction about how we use these things in our lives, how they help us. It's called our Inner Circle membership, and we also have training for Zen teachers. If that's something you're ever interested in digging deeper in and learning how to be a teacher, we have something called the Path to Mastery, learning to become a Zen master. So you can find all that information on our website, also in the description on YouTube. You can find our entire schedule. We also have art groups and writing groups where we practice art and writing as a form of meditation, of moving meditation. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's another pathway. You can find all of that on our schedule at mindlightway.org. And we also have some ceremonies, full moon ceremonies, which Nadia hosts, beginning Bollywood dance classes, which Ashita hosts. So lots of different ways to practice moving and meditating. And you can find all of those on our website, and also on the meetup page. They're all there too, since I know a lot of you came to us through there. And we are only here because you all choose to support us. We love having you as part of the community. I really appreciate you coming out. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we try to keep all of our meditation and classes open to the general public and free, but we do rely solely on donations. So if you'd like to leave us a donation, your generosity is greatly appreciated. There's some information on the back table on how to do that, and in the video description for the YouTube page. Thank you so much for coming out. I hope you all come back. It was great to have such a great group and love the questions. If you'd like to stay for a few minutes and chat less formally, you're welcome to hang out. You don't have to rush out the door. And thank you so much for coming.